Hi, everybody.
Never to be heard again.
Shut up. Shut your
Ever.
face.
Never. We will never talk about Lower Decks.
I think we should start the show like right away. Let's get into it.
Ignore the live chat and just go straight into it.
Let's
okay.
just go straight into
Welcome
it.
to 10 Forward, the part of the show where people would hate that. People would hate that so much. Any
What do you
objections in the
mean?
live chat?
What do you mean?
Wondering, let's just fucking do it.
Fucking ready to go, man. This is episode
Yep.
10, right? Because it says Fissure Quest on here. The last
I haven't
one
updated it yet.
thing. Okay, so there we go. We're ready to go. The last one thing. That is not the title, but Ian's gonna take care of that when I will vamp. I'll do a little bit of vamping.
Okay, right. No, okay, I'm doing
So
it.
thank you guys for joining us for today's live show. We're about to talk about the finale of Lower Decks. We literally just finished watching it, and for the first time doing our live show, we're going to jump straight into it, which is a little bit exciting, but also a little sad because I would love to have a moment to just chat with you. But you know what? We'll just chat at the end. We'll finish up our thoughts and get it all out while it's super fresh, and then jump in to to spend time with you guys at the end. Just as always, what thing did you do? What thing did you do? What did you do?
No, we got to wait until the end now.
God damn it. Okay, we will pin your comments. We will hopefully talk about very similar thoughts. So as we get to that part of the show or a part of the conversation, please feel free to put up your thoughts and we will pin them for later if we don't talk about it ourselves / steal your comments, as sometimes some people think happens. And then we will obviously talk about your thoughts that we don't get to at the end of the show, and hopefully have a chance to put that into the outtakes for our regular show. Thank you for joining us live. This is an R-rated show because we are R-rated people. So if you're easily offended,
Fuck off.
there's your answer. We are live on YouTube on the CinemaSins Podcast Network channel. Thank you for being here, guys. We're live on Twitch on 2 different streaming sites. On my personal one at Danae Says. Thank you for your support over there, and also on CinemaSins Live. And thank you guys for your support there as well. So we will have an animal story for you in the outtakes. I already talked about that before the show, but obviously I can tell you guys all kinds of things because my life is filled with animal stories, including how adorable they are on the velvet couch.
Look at
the
them.
minute. So
look at them.
I know.
Oh, golly.
I think we're gonna get to fun shit like this. I don't want to miss this Proton Klingon versus Mippy comment.
Klingon.
We're gonna get to that. I'm really excited. So without further ado, I think we jump right into it. What do you think, Captain?
Yeah, I mean, the consensus is that's what we're going to do, so that's what we're going to do. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab something from the replicator for the last time ever. Not ever.
Yeah, that's right. This is the last episode of Captain's Pod. Surprise!
Don't you do it.
Surprise, everyone. It's over.
Somebody tried to predict that in the Discord, and you don't know that, but they did, so don't joke about that. Where we share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched. Most important question first, what's your thing of choice from the replicator? Ambassador.
Oh, shit. You think after all the years of doing this show that that's something that I would remember to write down when I watch the show?
3 years and 1 month we've been doing this.
And yet it continues to be something that I forget about.
And yet.
So it looked like their celebratory end of the episode drink was like a margarita, didn't it? Because it had like little crystals around the top that could either be sugar or something.
Yeah. Or like a cosmopolitan. Don't they have like sugar around the edge sometimes? I don't know.
You know, I think every bar can kind of create their own version of what they want to sell.
Bloody Mary has salt around the rim.
Yeah, and it also has celery in it. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like celery. We have got so much to talk about, and it's not celery or cosmopolitans. I want the goo that exploded from Kashon and Dr. Miggly Moo at the very, very end of the episode. They're like doing plant stuff in the Arboretum, and then he tastes it, and it tastes yummy. And I'm like, yeah, I'll have the goo that's on Kashon.
Let's go straight to that moment and in true Captain's Pod fashion, just jump around willy-nilly.
Okay.
I looked up and you were making notes.
Yes.
I looked up in shock at seeing something at the end, but you were writing, and I don't know if you saw it. Were you watching in the doctor's office?
Oh, the ascended guy that returns?
Yes. Did you see that? Okay, I didn't know if you saw that.
No, I saw the flash of light, and I was like, oh, Q's going to turn up. Oh, no, it's the ascended guy.
He looked very disheveled and confused.
Yes. The space koala sent him back.
And isn't that Tendy's like love interest?
It wasn't love I don't think so, because I think she fucked it up and then helped him out. There could have been. Yeah, I think there was like some kind of thing.
I thought there was some
end.
sort of an attraction between the two of them, and it was sort of like...
Well, he was like pissed off by her because she threw all of the spanners into.
But didn't they kiss?
Why don't I remember this?
Chat says it.
The chat is backing you up. I'll accept it. I
think they maybe it was just a little experimental, and then we didn't have to think about it anymore because the guy we thought died.
Well, in season 6, there would probably be a love triangle between Rutherford, an ascended guy, and and her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like if this series had continued, so it ends on the beginning of an adventure. If this series had continued, do you think that next season would have been that, or do you think that they made that to be the end?
I think they made that in the hopes of maybe getting a spin-off potentially and spawning its own Deep Space Nine, and I think Freeman wouldn't have moved to Starbase 80. I think that happened because the show was ending and like getting promoted to first officer. I mean, only one group of people know, but I think that's the stuff that was tweaked. Because
setting up a love triangle would be something that you would do in a seasonal sort of environment.
Yeah, just plant a few little seeds. I think we could have seen like a spin-off animated show that's based on Starbase 80, called Starbase 80, or Fisher Quest. Star Trek Fisher Quest.
Fisher?
Would be the name of... Shut up. Give us a synopsis, Ambassador, before we break the format of the show more than Schrodinger has permitted us to already.
Okay, so in today's episode, we get I will say, is a masterclass in storytelling.
Yay!
Do you want to know what this show would be like if they just did an A plot and then they ended with something sweet? This is the episode for you.
This
the
is
finale.
Yeah, this is the one you want. This is the format the show should be.
It's such an interesting shift, and it's such a nice pacing thing. But anyway, we'll get to more specific thoughts later. We discover that Holla transporter Boimler real clone guy was right.
Transporter double, yeah.
Our beloved crew does have what it takes, and it's not upgrades of fancier class ships, which we see so many of in this episode, that they cleverly figured out a way to just parade in front of us. No, it's in their old school one that they know by heart, because Ceritos strong means what your grandma and grandpa do when they want to keep their dial-up internet, because it's all they ever know.
That's the real lesson at the heart of this
AOL
episode.
works to this day if you just know the right buttons to push.
I don't think it does.
There are still AOL emails though, right? I I think I saw one the other day and I was like, wow, that's impressive.
I thought they'd all been like sunsetted. I don't know.
And that's the important thing about the episode today.
Yeah, that's the heart of this
mystery of AOL is still out there. Yeah. And we get to see our crew work together in all these different capacities. We get twin engineering powers, twin science powers. We get space battles. We've got Klingons. Everything is in front of us for a feast to enjoy, but a little disappointed nobody actually changed into a cactus.
Or Spock.
Or
None
Spock.
of them happened. Yeah. Friendship high five. Science besties. I love it so much. I think you've tipped your hand somewhat, but did you overall enjoy the episode? A, as an episode, and B, as a finale for Lower Decks?
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a great episode.
What you wouldn't know, podcast listener, is when we do our recording of like this part of the show, you know, we do it in front of a live audience, but usually we chat with a live audience to get started, and then we eventually get to the recording part of the show. But literally we're just like, sorry, live audience, we're just jumping right into the show today.
Straight in.
Because I really loved today's episode, and not because it's the finale, not because I like the show, and not because I was primed to like it, but I genuinely thought it was really, really well done. The storytelling, the sounds that were happening, the visuals, the music. Oh, every time that they changed, that was so good. It was so good. Highly recommend listening with a really good set of earphones if you don't have them, because there was some really delightful things. Like, it was a heavy lifting episode. Obviously, it has to do a lot, but I thought it did a great job of telling a fun story, showing the dynamic between the crew and how it may have been maturing, you know, with like Boimler and Mariner bringing this really intense mission to their command, who then immediately takes it to Starfleet command. Like, there really wasn't any drama inside. You know, I want you to believe me. It was like, of course we believe you. We've got enough time together. And that's a really satisfying thing to see develop in a show like this, when it starts off with this crew that's just fumbling all over themselves and self-sabotaging and doing a great job, but still not being recognized for it because they're the lower deckers. And then the advancement feels really well earned. And then to kind of land it and go, this is what we're establishing as where this story ends, and launching into whatever the future is with this beautiful open portal. How fucking pretty was that?
This is the prettiest episode of all of Lower Decks, and Lower Decks has some incredibly beautifully animated episodes, and this is my number one straight away. Everything through like the Schrodinger nebula, whatever it was,
the portal
at
ring.
the end.
Yeah,
it was a gorgeously animated episode. Beautiful.
Yeah, and it paced really nicely. It felt like we were just kind of rushing in a way, but it made sense because we have Klingons on our tail. So the push to get into this rift and solve the problem is driven by the need to get away from the Klingons. And I thought that was a really clever decision making. So yeah, I just thought it was a really, really, it was a really nice thing. And my one thing that I wanted was more of a Rutherford understanding.
That's crazy. Your prediction was like what you really personally want from this episode was more from Rutherford and maybe like a bow on his arc. And I'm just like there gobsmacked, just like more Rutherford screen time and development than anyone else on the crew, really. Like, it was like he got a big change this episode and a big evolution. And I'm like, what do you do? How do you pluck this stuff out? I never would have guessed that. Like, you just plucked that out of the Schrodinger field.
I don't know that it's instinct or like intuition. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. But like, just looking at what I have seen, which again isn't a lot. We talked about how I should have watched season 2 for some more info, but it just felt like for him in particular, I can kind of pinpoint specific advancements in storyline for almost every character, but Rutherford seemed pretty superficial. So that was the one person that's kind of our crew that didn't get as much, in my opinion. And and so I think it was needed, but I didn't expect it to be what it was. How do you feel about his storyline now that we kind of have seen where it comes to an end on this show, at least?
I'm always happy to have more time with Rutherford. The arc felt a little bit rushed and more in service of the episode than in service of Rutherford for me. Like, he's always embraced his artificial eye and like how it taps into his brain. This is like a very sudden, the implant isn't holding me back, the Ceritos is holding me back, and then wait, the implant was holding me back all along. I don't think either was true. The implant wasn't holding him back. The better resolution for me is finding a middle ground where he accepts the old of the Ceritos with the new of his implant, rather than rejecting either of them. So I'm going to have to sit with it for a while, but I'm trying to work out why we should be cheering that he got rid of his implant and now, quote unquote, looks normal and hasn't got any of the extra bits. Part of it is like it was suppressing his emotions. So if they focused on that, just like what I have to give up to get the advantages of this implant is that I lose a lot of my emotions, and I'm choosing to give that up so that I can get in touch with my emotions again. Which is just in one line at the end was like, oh, that dopamine suppressor, well, you sure do feel a lot more. For me, that's the heart of why Rutherford would lose his implant, not that it's too techie. I've got to sit with it a bit longer.
Yeah. My initial instinct is a little bit different, but I can see your point. Like, if you've got an implant that is so technologically advanced that you can't actually use it functionally to do what you love to do, and it's like, then I don't belong here. I need to go where there's more technological advancement, but that is directly against what you actually at your core want, which is to be where you are, and you've lost the love of what you like to do, and you're going to leave your friends because this thing is holding you back. If you remove that thing, suddenly like, I actually don't need this, and reconnect with what you really enjoy doing. I thought it was really interesting.
I can see that. Yeah, I like that angle. And someone in the live chat has just mentioned that if that had been sprinkled throughout the season, this would have been a much more satisfying payoff. And I think that's what I'm tapping into as well. This is all happening in this final episode. We haven't really had a hint other than the laser beam thing at the beginning of episode 9, when he's like, oh, I can't interface with the Ceritos, and now I'm getting laser beams in my eye.
I feel like I've seen him be frustrated this whole season where something is happening with his piece where he's just like, this isn't working. And it's just 1 or 2 lines. It's not been a focal point because other things have gone on. But I feel like I've seen him kind of having a struggle, and then this is the culmination of that. And what was really interesting is that despite the ability to suppress his emotions, he was having outbursts of frustration because this part of him is not working with his environment. And so it's almost like driving him to make a choice. And maybe, like, you're right, the choice could be just to dial it back or dial it down, but then it's not functioning. You're just holding this technology in your face for no reason. And maybe that's a little bit too risky for him. So he just decides to, take it off for a while. And obviously he can go get his face put back together. I don't know how that works, but they regrow limbs. So I guess you can just, regrow your face. And I have to remember this is Starfleet future. So
you can make a lot of choices. Yeah. I think what we're butting up against is one way or the other, whatever the intended story is, what you get out of it, it's a lot packed into an episode that already has to do a lot. So maybe they were feeling that we haven't given Rutherford a lot of service this season, and he deserves to have this extra kind of bow in his arc for the final episode.
I didn't feel like it was too much Rutherford, though.
I feel like it's too much It's not too much Rutherford. It's not enough Rutherford for too much development. Like, this is a big swing. This is a huge life-changing thing that is happening to him.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I can relate to suddenly going, I'm ready. Fuck this. I'm done with it. And just remove something from maybe not like an implant, but like something from my life that I realize I'm done. This has to be it. And then
2 dogs
you just
that keep waking you up at night. I'm done with dogs.
But he was kind of everybody had their sort of hero moment in this episode, and he definitely had a big part to play in it because he knew the Ceritos so well. When it comes back around to the ship that they're on, it's not really Schrodinger evolving anymore. It's just their Ceritos. He's kind of relieved because suddenly it's not learning a new ship or figuring something else out or like rapidly reconfiguring. It's, I know right where to go. I know right what to do. I know exactly what I need to do.
Isolinear chips around.
Yeah, he just slid on in there and started just having fun. And then we get to see the warp core do shit that I will never understand.
It changed color, didn't it? It turned yellow.
It turned yellow after. I think it turned blue, and then when Mariner did stuff, it turned yellow, and then all kinds of colors. Actually, I can read you my notes. I can read you my notes of that section. Build a dam to stop the river. Mariner does something, and the beam does something and turns colors and something and light and stuff and something. And it's sort of, well, okay, energy's contained and it's stable and permanently open. And well, it's really fucking pretty.
I think you just wrote the paragraph that's in the script that it describes what happens on screen in this scene. Yeah, that's probably how they described it.
Yeah. But to our point about Rutherford, I think like it was a really fine thing to see. I feel like the show has been front and center Mariner and Boimler, and we didn't really get much of them because of screen time being, but we don't know how much they had a chance to really rewrite. You know, if this was the season finale of a regular season, you know, this is a fun way to end the season.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't know really. I think they probably got a chance to write in maybe 5 more minutes of content. Would be my instinct.
I almost wish I didn't know. I always want to know specifically what was it before and what is it now and what would have been the difference. I want to know what the 2 different realities look like. But overall, I think it's really smart to make this episode does end up being really about the lower deckers and what it means to be lower deckers, and the fact that it takes a village, not just a village to run a starship, but a village to run Starfleet as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to have all different types of people of varying perspectives of importance, putting the big machine of Starfleet together. I think it was smart
like
to not focus on. Yeah, to not focus on too much. I mean, that last speech from Mariner, that must be the thing that was added. That's got to be the thing that ties it all up in a neat bow to end the series and everything.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, zeroing out from the specific into the broad, I really like this episode. This is not just a great episode of Star Trek. I think it's a really great way to finish off Lower Decks without too much acknowledgement that we're ending. Like, I'm thinking back to like Picard and Discovery, which had these big hour-long victory laps and like wrapped up their adventure and then had like 15 minutes of this is where we all are. Discovery had like 45 minutes of this is what happens next. Lower Decks is like, all right, we'll give you 35 minutes, and they cram in this tight fun adventure and then a little bit at the end that just ties it all up and kind of gives us a satisfying ending. For me, it worked on every single level. There is so much to unpack in this episode. There is so much Star Trek love and nerdery that they put into every single corner. I think what I want to do next is just tell me, like, what was your favorite moments? Like, what were the moments in the episode that really stood out that you loved?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the broad story and capture this thought before I try to pull out like maybe something very specific, but as cliche as it may be, I kind of appreciated the Klingon bad guy. Is that weird?
Oh, Relga? Oh man, I've got some complicated feelings about this.
I know it's been done so many times, and I know we have seen the Klingon warship bird of prey thingy so many times, but they set this season up to have this particular arc for this character. And I think that they wanted to bring that story to an end. We can speculate as much as we want about how things would be different had they known from the start that this was going to be their final season and what they would have done differently. But I think this would have been such a fun end. Like the fact that it's the end, maybe we would be like, oh, if I could make my own fantastic like bad guy, what would I have preferred to see in all of this canon of Star Trek? You know, you could probably think of a bad guy you would love to see.
Oh, yeah, too many. This
So
is why
many.
I should not have written this episode and obviously did not.
Right. But for the simple-minded Star Trek fan like myself,
Yes.
there was something really easy about that part that allowed me to not have to wonder a lot, because despite not watching a ton of Star Trek, I know enough about this enemy that I don't have to do a lot of mental heavy lifting. And so what it allowed me to do is sort of like appreciate other parts of what they were doing on screen, like the space battles and the way that the animation was looking, and this adorable pug dog, and, you know,
a dog we've seen before.
I would have like pulled some stuff out, you know, like the red herring with the dad, because that to me, you know, isn't really needed in this episode. Because it's the end and I want to do other things, but we just don't get that luxury. I just was really happy to see a bad guy that I understood. And maybe it's the simple-minded lizard part of my brain that likes things to be simple, where it's like, you're the bad guy, I'm the good guy, you know? It just like
exactly. It's why the Borg are so fun, because the Borg are so black and white. It's just like, yeah, you are easy to stop and blow up millions of you because you're drones. Like they're very satisfying villains, and the Klingons are very similar. It's a very safe Star Trek thing to do, and I respect it every time. It's why, like, side note, but the motion picture, the first Star Trek movie, opens with 3 Klingon warbirds, even though the movie, you don't see the Klingons anywhere else in the rest of the movie. They don't pop up, but these 3 Klingon ships are destroyed by the actual enemy of the actual antagonist of the movie, because every Star Trek fan knows, oh yeah, the Klingons are the big bad. So you kill the Klingons, you know that your new big bad is even bigger and badder than the Klingons, because the Klingons are so familiar. So yeah, that's why we end up seeing the Klingons so much, because they are familiar to pretty much anybody in the world. Even if you haven't seen Star Trek, you've probably heard of a Klingon.
Yes. And wrapping up the story within the season of the 2 brothers story arc. And then of course now he has his own fleet because was it Relga?
Relga, yeah.
You know, she's universally recognized as now being without honor. I don't know. There's something really nice about, so like last episode, we were looking for that bad guy and we didn't get it because it was just an oopsie. Like we're just accidentally scientifically opening up shit we shouldn't be. This episode goes back into the quote unquote traditional storytelling where there's like that black and white element. And because of that, I think I enjoyed this episode quite a bit. I just wanted to say that from a broader perspective. I'm not going to say it's one of my favorite things because it's not, but I like that they did it, and I might be on the minority for those who love Star Trek a whole bunch and were wanting something different from this episode.
I'm really glad you mentioned it, because that is one of the parts of the episode I wanted to zero in on. And I've had a few minutes just again. We watched this episode. We just watched it 20 minutes ago. We just watched it. We're coming in. We are so raw. Our ship is just like hurtling towards a Schrodinger field, and all of these different possibilities pop into my head. Whatever I think now may not be what I think 10 years from now. But the Klingon element for me works as in a finale for season 5. It doesn't work in the finale for the show, because the function of it is really to push the Ceritos into the field and play around. It felt so much like filler, good filler. This is like having an extra patty and extra sauce in your burger, but it was filler. Like it wasn't.
I don't know if I agree. And here, what kind of storytelling heavy lifting would the writers have to do to qualify that the Ceritos is being pressed into the rift because they are in peril?
It works. It serves the function, but I think I just
like what would it be?
What you said like about the Star Trek fans wanting something else. I wanted something else pushing them in. Like this felt like it was too apparent to me that was the function of pushing the Ceritos in. So it's like Muck returning, Relga having a vendetta, pushing them to the Ceritos, and then chasing the Ceritos into the field. I was like, oh, this is all because you need the Ceritos to be unprepared when it goes into the Schrodinger field so that we can have the fun of seeing all of the different versions of the Ceritos. So for me, that felt like it was like so apparent that was like manufactured. It didn't feel organic to me. Like I would have rather been like, if you don't get there, maximum warp, universe is destroyed. Just put a ticking clock on it for me, and that would have worked fine. Just get them in like, we don't have time to make these adjustments. We've just got to, we're close enough. We're 90% of the way there. That allows for 10% wiggle room to do the funky transformations. I didn't need Relga chasing them for me to believe that they are taking a risk by going into the nebula.
I liked it because
I liked it.
If we change it, let's let's say that the enemy is the clock and not even a bad guy or whatever.
Yeah.
I think there is a real strong chance that they would have just talked about all their options for like way too long and then went and done it. I hate that. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
No, this is why this is a good episode, because I'm not saying this is objectively wrong. It's just that element didn't work for me, because in the finale of the entire show, I don't need Relga chasing them. I make it something else. I don't know. I don't have a perfect suggestion here, but I do know my gut instinct was that having Relga chasing them felt very manufactured, and it could have just worked with the ticking clock for me. So I didn't like feel a lot of excitement for the Relga stuff. Every minute we spent with Relga, I was like, this is robbing me of time with my lower decks crew. So yeah, I would much rather have all of them talking to each other, working through problems.
That's the thing that I've had to wrestle with for the weeks leading up to this, is the knowledge that they didn't know. And I cannot gauge by that. Yes. I have to remove that entirely from my...
Because if we keep fucking judging them, maybe one day we'll actually give the creative people the respect they deserve to either give them a full fucking season when they know it's going to end, or more notice, more wiggle room, more than just, hey, by the way, you're cancelled. Maybe you get to rewrite 5 minutes of your last episode.
Well, I think that we should talk about that separately, like the frustration with content creation and those who have the power to make these choices and those who have the ability to like remove entire series and end programs, and why there isn't more of a respect to the storytelling aspect and giving an outlet to McMahon. Isn't that right?
Yep, Mike McMahon.
Like someone like this that's doing incredible work, but that's a whole separate conversation. I think for this season, it's smart to have Relga return because it's something that happened earlier in the season, and it can be a simple bad guy. It's not introducing like a new race or like a reference that it was done in one episode, you know, however many years ago, and everyone's been wondering what it was like because it was a sketch on someone's desk and they just panned over to it one day and these amazing writers grabbed it and they created something. And now you have to understand that this particular race is a hunter race and they're going to chase you into the rift. No, it's just a Klingon and they're going to chase you into the rift, and they know why. And she doesn't fuck around. She just starts firing. Like, it is immediate. And there's no conversation. And I believe that because this particular bad guy is one I don't need an explanation for. Yes, it's been done a lot, but I don't need an explanation to know that she's not she's just not fucking around. I have to kind of respect that she is that way.
Yeah. It's what you end as a car chase in movies.
Because I would rather have like another permeation of a really clever bad guy that I'm familiar with than a whole bunch of engineers talking about glue something.
Gluons. Come on, you know what a gluon is.
The technobabble is not my jam. It never has been. It never will be. I can jive with it, just like I can be in the room with some people who are like really geeking out and be like, I respect that you know what you're talking about. But had the end been that, I would have been really upset because I loved the action. Like, it's just so fun to see the animated series just go at it. We had shuttles blowing up. We had ships changing. Would I have preferred a little bit of people changing too that weren't just the Klingons? Yes. Yes, I would have loved to have seen that, but I understand that meant that maybe everybody wouldn't be changed back.
Yeah, it also seemed pretty violent and permanent. Like, it didn't seem like a Q snap. This was like, oh, you're violently peeling. Like, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I do have the perfect answer that just popped into my head.
Do it.
And I agree. The action element of the Klingons, the safety of making it Klingons because they're familiar, I agree with all of that. Packlids. Why wasn't it the Packlids chasing them? Because the Packlids were the big recurring mystery bad guy of season 1, where it's like, oh, surprise, the Packlids did it. And then they pop up every now and again. What if it had been a Packlid ship that turned up and was like, we need the technology from the Rift that's from multiverses and stuff. And the Packlids are chasing them. And for me, that would have been like a really cool internal callback to it's the fucking Packlids again. That would have been fun for me.
It would have been fun. And like I said, if we want to take a minute and say the would-haves, had they known this was the end, we would have been seeing Peanut Hamper. We would have been seeing...
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah.
Yeah, there would have been this clever sort of thing going on, you know, but that's not what they wrote for the season. We're seeing the end of that particular story, and they're ending on... I guess the rest is just a big TBD, and that's okay. So let's, I liked it. I liked it a bunch, but I understand.
I love it. I'm so glad you did.
If I choose to put my "this is the end of the season" cap on, I'm disappointed. Like, there are some disappointments, but I'm not doing that because it doesn't seem fair to the writers or to the creators or to the animators who are telling the story and working with what they got.
What else did you love about the episode? So,
let's talk about some of the things I really loved. And I want to hear some of the things that you really loved, because I'm curious if one of them is how many ships you saw.
Oh, I've got a list, and then I just stopped typing. So good.
Yeah, I think there was one moment. It was at the very beginning. And maybe we'll just start with what you loved. Because there was one moment at the beginning of the episode where the Klingons first hit the rift, and the rift kind of blasts out. It hits one ship, and you watch it transform into this very feathery version of itself, and you go, oh, you audibly gasped. And so I'm typing my little notes, and I'm like, oh, Ian's excited about something. So is this was something that you loved? Is that the ship was impacted by this sort of Schrodinger's rifting?
So, we turn up on some really cool Klingon ships, which, although I've just criticized it, fucking love the design of what's her name? Relga. Relga's ship is sexy. It is it's like this dirty Klingon bird of prey. Oh, I love it so much. It's so good. They're plotting as they do, and then get interacted with by the Rift. The Rift fucks up one of their ships, but it transforms the Klingons. So we know that this Rift is full of potential and alternate realities, and you get turned into alternate versions of yourself. He gets turned into a purple Klingon from Discovery season 1, and it just it melted my brain a bit, because it's Lower Decks acknowledging because sometimes in my head, whenever Star Trek changes something, I'm like, okay, visually to me, I know this is different, but in the universe, they all look the same. That change isn't really there. So when the purple Klingons turned up and the alabaster Klingons turned up in Discovery, I was like, not everyone, but a lot of people were a little bit offended and butthurt that the Klingons didn't look like our TNG Klingons with the long hair and the uniform and whatnot.
Just like they were butthurt that they didn't look like the TOS Klingons?
Just like the TOS Klingons changed and suddenly got ridges.
I can say that because I remember.
Yeah, you can, and then Enterprise comes along and explains it. So when we explicitly transform this Klingon into a purple Klingon, I have so many questions and I want to talk about that because I think we generally accepted that the purple Klingons from Discovery were like a sect. They were a cult and they looked different because they were an offshoot of the proper Empire. And they don't look like that today because they either died off or they're still in hiding. But then this suggests like an alternate universe where they didn't and they were prosperous and they were the dominant Klingons. So it's just, oh man, the immediate shock for me was just so funny. I was like, oh, you're acknowledging that the Discovery ones are different. They're different Klingons. They're purple. They look weird and you know it. We know it. You're acknowledging it. You've transformed that Klingon into a purple Klingon. We know it's weird, but it's just something that I think only Lower Decks can get away with hanging a lantern on or hanging a hat on so explicitly that, yep, these are different. These Klingons are weird. I love it. I love it. That's the immediate geek out moment for me.
What about all the rest of the ship changes?
Yeah, my gosh. I mean, if we want to just dive straight into that.
Well, I want to talk about the things that you super, super loved. I love some stuff too, but I wanted the whole time, I'm just like, that is another ship. That is another, like, I don't really see the difference. So does that make sense? I mean, kind of I do. But not like you would see the difference. Yeah, no, I totally get it. And the ship choices were very, very deliberate. So the Ceritos has been fucked with a bit, going through the Schrodinger field. Yeah, the first transformation, it gets turned into a ship with one nacelle. I think it's a Freedom class. And that isn't like particularly significant in and of itself. But what Tendi does afterwards is very, very significant. So Mr. Gene Roddenberry had very, very clear design science behind his starships. And the two nacelles thing isn't a coincidence. The two nacelles have to be there to create a stable bubble, and they have to have line of sight as well. The two nacelles have to be able to connect to each other visually to create the bubble. It's why Voyager's nacelles pivot upwards so that instead of being flush, they angle upwards to create a warp bubble and then jump to warp. So a single nacelle means you shouldn't be able to create a warp bubble until later Star Trek when we see lots of ships with just one nacelle. Which is why Ransom is like, how would you even go to warp with one nacelle? And Tendi has a fucking explanation, but in true Lower Decks style, gets talked over. Like, no, theoretically, it is possible to form a warp bubble. All you have to do is, and Freeman's like, we don't have time for this. And it's so great. It's like, whoa, there's an explanation. But it's enough. It's enough that Lower Decks is addressing that, yeah, we know this wasn't Gene Roddenberry's original vision for starships, but things evolve, things change. Of course, there's an in-universe reason, because I just thought of it. Like, I just made it up. Guess what? Warp travel, also made up. Starfleet, also fictional. So I love that. It was such a nerdy thing to address and put into the episode. So that might be my favorite Starship moment. Aww.
Tendi explaining
the little unicycle.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. But it does continue to transform. We get a Reliant class. We get the version of the Pegasus. Of course, we get a Galaxy class very quickly flying through. We also get a Ceritos version of the Sovereign class, which is the tattoo that I have on my body is the Sovereign class because it's got the nacelles. But what's funny is that we've got a Ceritos with the Sovereign class nacelles, and then we get a Sovereign class with the Ceritos nacelles. It's so funny to me because they just switched the nacelles out. I love that. It was just a big old like animator's dream of like, I get to play around with starships all day and make pretty much whatever I want to make. Yeah, it was so fun. And big shout out to one of our listeners, Badgie, who called that there would be somehow predicted there would be an ISS Ceritos and a Sovereign class in this episode. Fucking happened. We got an ISS Ceritos. The Terran Empire Ceritos. Just wild. So I don't think we had to spend too much time on it. I'm glad that it was quite a quick rapid fire thing, and it wasn't like, oh, we have to figure out this ship. Oh, we have to figure out this ship. It was enough to just like nod, have fun, just visually, just a quick rapid fire melee deluge of shit porn. Loved it.
Amazing. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, I really like the ending.
They're going fast.
Yeah.
They appear to be traveling fast.
They appear to be traveling fast now, and that is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We have two moments, I just realized, two strong moments in this episode of a character rejecting a powerful item in order to be more happy with their current state and their current friendship. Rutherford rejects his implant and Boimler breaks his pad.
Yes. How did you feel about the resolution to Boimler's journey this season?
Well, as I'm kind of Rolodexing through the different moments in this episode and what I would say is my favorite, which is difficult for me for some reason today. I was thinking about Boimler moments, and I'm thinking about Mariner and Tendi and Rutherford, but I think my favorite moment was sort of towards the end when we land on our resolution that Handsome is going to be the captain. And like when he reaches out and he stops the punch, like I really enjoyed that moment because I was kind of like, who is it? You know, who's it going to be?
Who's going to step up?
Yeah. Like it would have been cool if it was Mariner, but
for a second, I thought it was Boimler, and I was like,
and then it was
where
white,
did you like pressure point your way into stopping a Klingon hand? How did you do that?
It was far too beefy of a hand to be Boimler. Those were some meaty hands.
It was.
And I've really been like annoyed. You know, we had the Handsome moment a few episodes back or whatever, where we're just sort of annoyed with how sometimes they write him as this just lackadaisical leader. And am I concerned for the future of this ship? Abso-fucking-lutely. But it was kind of a fun moment where he just takes control and he explains himself, and kind of we have this sort of momentum moment. But I think my favorite moment of the show involves him when he says engage the core. And
it's so funny.
I think this is the perfect way to end the episode. It's a really great way to end the season with Mariner and Boimler still right kind of back where we started. They're kind of a little bit in this begrudged competition with each other to prove themselves. But now they're in a position of authority. So they're both kind of acknowledging like, oh, we both want this. This is going to be interesting without having to say much because we have all this history.
Yeah.
And then they're both like, please, no, please don't do that. You know, just this sort of loving, I don't know how to, it feels like what you would do with like your mom or your dad when they do something. It wasn't very professional, but no one on the Ceritos is. And that was kind of the point of the end speech, which was like, we're not like the most, was it professional that she said? Yeah,
we're not the most professional, but not everything has to be perfect.
Right. Yeah, it was just like this really, I really liked kind of her speech sort of like at the end there, that's just their style. And when he says, how about engage the core? There was just something about the voice acting in that moment and just this kind of like the passing of the torch. I think it's my favorite part because I was smiling. I was genuinely having a good time. It felt right. It felt good. And then when they're just like, no. He's like, I like it. It's saying, and then they're just groaning.
It really is the perfect way to end Lower Decks because it's always been tongue in cheek. It's always been like self-detrimental, and it is a thing. Like it's a cliche that pretty much every captain has to have their own catchphrase,
and it's perfect.
Just like we don't have to do it, and it is so perfect. It's a great pun. It comes back to his like working out and being a gym freak.
And she even says it. Please don't let it be a workout pun. Please
don't let it be a workout pun. And it's great because it starts off with engage, and for a second I thought he was just gonna like steal Picard and just like engage to hit it with the core. is a beautifully put together joke. And yeah, it worked for me so much. It ends on a laugh. It's so funny.
It does. It ends on a laugh. It ends with you feeling like, oh, this is going to be a fun adventure. I wish I could follow it, which is kind of what you want. You want more when you get to the end of something. And this is definitely a want more moment.
Yeah, it really is. That's probably a good way to end the show, to be honest, on a leave them wanting more. What I'm thinking twice about it, maybe there is a chance that this is how season 5 was always going to end, with this shake-up of Freeman leaving, captain in charge, and the fight for like being first officer and what that looks like. I can see that actually leading nicely and setting up some fun stuff for season 6.
Oh, yeah. I mean, season 6 in an ideal situation with this as the kickoff would be you have the return of Tendy's potential love, and then you have Rutherford turning into like just a regular normal guy who blushes and is kind of like off put by Tendy's affections. And you have everybody sort of set up in this really interesting spot to go on episodic adventures through a rift that could do anything Star Trek's heart desires. It is literally like, it's like building up to an orgasm and then just stopping.
Yeah.
It does feel a bit like that.
So much potential.
Like you're looking at this amazing gate that has this big O that has so much potential to take you anywhere and do anything you want it to do. And then it's just like, but we're not really going to show you anymore. So bye.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Although I hope it is maybe being a bit cheeky. Like I don't think there's a chance that they know that they're getting a spin-off, but I think it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, like Mike McMahon be like, we could. It's a lot cheaper to have a fresh crew, and everything kind of contracts go back to the beginning, and the most expensive thing is when we get to season 6, 7, 8, you've got to renew contracts, and the actors get more money because you want to keep them. This is why you end up getting reboots and resets and spin-offs, because they're cheaper to make than the main body of the show. So that ending for me, I love it so much. And I want this more than I want Star Trek Legacy, I think, which is like the thing that after Star Trek Picard finished, they were like, we want 7 of 9, captain on the Titan, going off and having adventures as a new Next Generation show. I want this Fisher Quest. That's such a great premise for the show, to have Starbase 80 hovering around this Fisher and exploring it. And I wonder if maybe one day they'll explore it in live action. It would be so cool. It's such a great premise for a new wave of Star Trek.
I think the idea of pulling Starbase 80 back to this rift and bringing that back around, and Freeman ending on Starbase 80, which chat is pointing out was foreshadowed in episode 1.
Oh, it's beautiful bit of foreshadowing.
Freeman would end up there, and she thought it was so bad. So thanks for pointing that out, Lord.
Yeah, which means that was probably always going to happen. Freeman was always going to leave in this season.
I think if we had a show, like if there was a way for them to create a show and it would be about Starbase 80, and then we'd have the occasional coming back to Starbase 80 from our favorite Lower Decks people, and we would get to kind of pepper their story back in. That would be nice. But
yeah, I would love it.
Who knows why we didn't? People have different things they have to do. Sometimes these voice actors might not be available to continue.
They may
that
not want to do it anymore.
Be one reason they literally can't continue the show, because there's not an availability or a budget. Because when you have other offers, you're looking at, let's say it's $100,000 on the table here for this, and they can only offer you $40,000, and it's like, I have to go with this.
Well, Jack Quaid is in high demand for feature-length movies at the minute. Like, he's in a lot of shit. He's got a movie coming out next month, I think. Like, I don't blame him for wanting to pursue and focus big movies.
Of course. And lending his voice to something like this isn't necessarily going to be on the show's timeline. So we don't know why we can't keep going. But what we do know is that it was such great storytelling and such great animation and such great... like the what is it, the audio engineering of it, all the
Foley artists, just all of the like the bwam, new ship, bwam, so good.
That might also be one of my favorite parts, not the changing, but just the sound effect I could listen to that. I kind of want that to be the sound that plays when anybody rings my doorbell or something.
Yes.
Just
Brace. I think you cannot underestimate the subliminal nature of good, solid fucking audio work and good score. Like, I think of Back to the Future. Like, when I watch Back to the Future with like an analytical brain of like, why do I like this? Like, because when I love something, I really want to know why I love it so that I can replicate it. And Back to the Future is littered with these like tiny bits of like magical score and just like the way it introduces like themes. And Star Trek does that so often as well, when it better than, like, for me, better than Star Wars, better than the MCU, it has like consistent theme music that goes through each of its seasons and sounds that I'm just like, that's a TNG sound, that's a Deep Space Nine sound, that's TOS. I don't know many shows that can do that and really know how powerful audio can be.
There's one particular scene where they're navigating into this fissure, this rift, and Freeman gives Boimler the go ahead. Like, I think she says evasive maneuvers or something like this. And it's right when they're being attacked. And the view of the bridge is this sort of slightly askew view with Boimler front center on the bottom left of your screen, and then the crew kind of in the back. And he's intensely navigating the ship. And I think that's another one of my highlight moments of this episode for a couple of reasons. I like to see Boimler win.
Yes.
I like to see him showing that it's not just that he's accidentaled his way to greatness, that he is really talented. And so he's up there doing his thing, but they didn't have to show that, and they didn't have to play the sounds that they play, because he like presses a couple buttons and he goes like, it makes the sound, the sound.
Yep.
And
the sound
there's
of the
just
LCARs.
certain sounds that are only for Star Trek time, and I don't, but I want them. I want, when I touch my phone, for those sounds to happen. Gosh. You know, like, just there's something really
preaching to the choir.
Tactile is not the right word. What is it?
Everything.
When it's just
ambiance.
like there's a whole world there to unpack.
Immersion.
Like, you know, they have to have entire themes on your phone that make it look like a Star Trek
thing,
have
LCARS themes,
and then like you push the buttons, and when you're dialing your mom or your dad, it's like just does all the I loved it. So
I don't know, we just need to adapt it. Like, there is no reason we can't have an operating system like LCARS, just no one's chosen to really fully do it yet.
It needs to be everything that I touch. I don't want to overdo it, you know, whenever I'm getting water out of the refrigerator, I suppose.
I want that as well.
When I press between water and ice cube, like, go ahead and make the sound.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to. But I like that the animators and the audio engineers and all of the people that are doing all the things, I know I'm probably calling them all the wrong things, but when it all comes together in this episode, they just care about, they didn't have to animate that. They could have said evasive maneuvers and then just shown an exterior shot of the ship just going and like just moving around.
Yeah, of course.
But we're seeing the intensity of the inside and how it's all going to come together and work. And this is what a live action show would be doing, is 100%. Showing the actors. And so I think that it's really, even though they know they can kind of flex on their exterior stuff and their action things because they're animated, they're still giving this realness to these people, which reminds me, that was one of the things that you're kind of hoping that wouldn't happen, is that they undo the realness of these people. So they didn't do that. They let them be who they are.
They really honored it. They consistently make themselves like an episode of TNG. Like, what would we see if we panned over to Data? What would we be seeing? If we pan over to Geordi, what would we be seeing? They know the love that you have when you watch like an episode of TNG and Voyager. They translate that so well. Like Rutherford realizing that, okay, I've got to fix Ceritos the old school way, and he rips out his thing and he gets to move around all of the isolinear chips, and then all of the other crew in engineering are like, I've never seen anyone engineer that fast. And it's such like a nod to like Geordi running around and Data like, we've got the plan, let's rapidly type all of the things. Oh, it's so great. That's one of the amazing things this episode does, is puts everybody in their perfect spot where they get a chance to excel. So like Tendi and T'Lyn, probably a good time to like move on to them. They have their big moments as well.
They have a moment.
It's so great. Science besties.
Ting! And then they have that sort of like cut scene where it looks like some sort of like anime action. The screen is sort of split.
Yes.
Sarah Superior in our chat was talking about like that she buys t-shirts at the end of everything and she's looking for like a T'Lyn. That'd be like the perfect T'Lyn t-shirt.
Yes.
Is that just like that science besties moment?
The deadpan delivery from T'Lyn consistently slays me. Science besties. It's, there is somehow still passion behind that.
Still great. Yeah,
it's so good.
She is so great in this
She's
episode.
Incredible.
To say it like it is and kind of say you're not, you're being really emotional. Is now the best time for that?
Yeah. Do you want to like tone it down? I know why this is happening.
It was really fun.
Yeah, I love that. Even our superpowered Adonis lady gets her moment as well, where she gets to discount Super Saiyan Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha, the lightning bolt into the Klingon ship, and it's just this little noodle slops across the shield. So great.
I mean, it's a total sin of this works, but it works.
Yeah, but just
and it
amazing.
Looks so cool.
It looks so cool, and there's just so many fast-paced scene changes, moments. Like, think about it. That could have been an entire 10 minutes of convincing her you've got to go outside of the ship. Someone's going to be lassoing you and holding on to you while you throw a lightning ball at a Klingon ship. But it's just cut to this scene, done, it works. And then, I guess that happened.
Oh, the end is so fast paced. I have like a list of things. And I love how she was like, Billups, I did it. Like she was so proud.
I did it. Yeah.
There was the Starfleet gate, the cat. Okay, so the doctor and Shax kind of have their little moment. The Admiral goes over. Rutherford takes out his implant. There's a romantic moment between them. Then there's a poker shot. So whenever she's kind of like, whenever not Freeman, Mariner is giving her speech, there's a poker shot. There's Billups that goes into the water. The guy comes back from the one episode through the portal. There's like a mishmash of all these different kind of people and creatures. There's the glowing candle. Did you see them?
Sex candle comes back. Yeah.
Okay, I wondered. I thought it was the sex candle. It looked like it.
It was. Yeah. It's unmistakable.
Then they have their power shot where it's like they all are standing together and guess who's in the front? Mariner.
Of course.
It's now official. She is the main character.
She's the main character of the show.
And then it goes to the captain on the deck. But there was like this beautiful kind of sequence, but everything's clipping by. Really, I liked it though. I kind of liked it. I could have lasted for another 10 minutes. I'd be happy.
Oh, easy. The entire pacing of this episode is incredible. I'm thinking about finales that are 90 minutes long and how I get it, but also there is something to be said for really tight storytelling and like where that forces you to trim the fat and to cut the excess rather than having an indulgent. You have as much time as you possibly think you need. So yeah, love this so much.
There's the Mark Twain one too. That's true.
The Mark Twain's just nodding back to that.
Computer.
What else have we got?
Chat's talking about someone named Ollie.
Wasn't Ollie the person that comes back from being ascended?
Is that guy? I couldn't remember his name. Oh,
yeah, I think that's that guy.
But that reminds me, when...
Sorry. No, yeah, Ollie was the lightning bolt lady, the Adonis person, I think.
Let's see if I can find it. Okay, I wrote this down. At the moment when Ransom is explaining that he was the one that hid the brother Klingon, and they're kind of all coming up with their idea.
Yeah.
And they're talking about, someone says something about going old school Kirk options. Like, can we just, I think it was the doctor.
Dr. Ta'ana.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure one of the crew members was just dead in the background. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Because
the one in the chair with the head wound?
Yeah. And he was
I just
blue.
assumed he was knocked out. Yeah.
But he was
Oh, was he?
He was a different shade. And I feel like
maybe he's an alien.
I kind of want to watch it again just for that one moment, because my
funny.
note here is, oh my God, is there a dead guy when they're talking about the old school Kirk options? Because it's just like, he's just, they're all like, da 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 da, and he's just like, he's just mouth agape, blood dripping down, just like literally turning gray.
It would be very on brand that Tarna's just like, it's fine. Don't worry, he's already dead.
But it would be that's such a thing that they would do, is just there's this dead guy in the background.
Yeah. This is just part of Starfleet life. That happens.
There's 2 chairs that are open when Ransom takes over the cap. Like, that seat that he is in is now vacant. So I'm just wondering if they really did die. So someone did die in this episode, potentially. It's just not
just everybody. It's just not anybody that we thought.
Actually,
which,
at
honestly,
one point, sorry.
No, go on.
At one point, when they split into 2 Ceritos,
yes,
I thought one was going to sacrifice and one wasn't.
Well, it can't do that because there's an episode of Star Trek that already did that. Yeah.
It could do that.
Literally in Voyager, 2 Voyagers split and one of them has to blow up to save the other Voyager. So I think it would have been too much to literally do that again. Because then you're like, that's not an homage. That's literally
stealing,
copying. That's just copy and paste.
But there was a brief moment where I thought, oh my God, my prediction's going to be true. That everyone dies.
Technically, everyone dies. I mean, technically, every version of one of those Ceritos is died. We don't know which version we ended up with. Yeah, man, the pacing of this episode is just so good. It clips along so fast. I like when it finishes. Like, yeah, it's a little bit quick that they're firing the beam at the portal. They realize it's not going to work, so instead of closing it, they decide to permanently open it so that they can basically create a dam, just to stabilize it. Well, we can't close it forever, so we're just going to be stuck with it, which means it stops expanding, which gives us time to do the wrap up at the end. So I'm fine with resolving that pretty quickly because it's on brand with the pace of the rest of the episode, to be honest. It had an amazing sci-fi gibberish, gluons, metaphors, pads are touched and beams are exploded. That really worked for me.
What about when the Klingon ship becomes a sailing barge and all the Klingons die?
Me up. Like, I almost felt guilty, but like it cracks me up because you just see it turn into a boat and you get a beat to realize how bad that is in space before you see one of the figures disappearing. But then it's a really somber moment because Ransom's like, they turned into an old Klingon barge, all hands lost. And no one is like saying, like, there's no Mariner going, oh, damn.
No,
like, there's no like, oh, wow, that sucks. It's really somber.
Someone goes, could that happen to us?
Could we turn into a boat?
Which I think it could. Because historically, it's a naval. Yeah. So does that mean that historically the Klingons had like water naval barges then? I
mean, if you have an ocean on your planet, which you probably need water to life as we know it, you probably had a way of navigating the water.
Something, yeah.
And if you have wind, sails are very logical. So they probably would have done. And but it cracked me up because the immediate, oh, fuck. Everyone, that's not meant for space. But no one else laughed with me because they played it pretty straight on the Ceritos and I loved that.
Yeah.
It cracked me up and it probably shouldn't have done.
No, it was kind of like, well, they let it linger not only on the ship, but then all of a sudden just all of the people just start to sort of scatter out into space. Anybody
that was on deck, just amazing. What else I did like a couple of little explanations that those slipped in here. So on the Klingons, why they haven't changed too much. And Tana's like, they probably have changed. The Klingons just always love looking like fucking birds. They just have very similar ship design, whereas Starfleet has like a huge variety. But the bad guys tend to have less variety because you want them to be familiar. So the Romulans don't have a huge variety. The Borg obviously don't. The Klingons look very similar. The Cardassians look very similar. Whereas Starfleet has 100,000 different variations of starship. And the other thing was the little explanation for why the Ceritos has to be the only ship in range that has to go and get us. Like, yeah, we've got the Enterprise on the way. It has to be you because of the Boimler connection. Otherwise, we would be saying, why is it a Cali class? So they had to slip that in, and it basically worked for me, although I will be sinning it.
Yeah, it definitely has a This Works kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And also, Freeman literally says, why don't you send the Enterprise?
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
They're way more equipped to deal with this.
I mean, I guess that means there's a severe misunderstanding of the importance of what is happening just in their neck of the wood, which is a sin in of itself. We sin it a lot, which is the convenience of anything being close to anything in space.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. The fact that the Ceritos is anywhere near this is a miracle.
Or the shuttle that the two brothers on is anywhere near the Ceritos.
Yeah. And I think unless there's anything else, just to wrap up, I think that, like we said, the final montage that Mariner gets to do is really, really fun. I really like what it means for her that her mum has now left the ship, that she has to deal with Ransom as captain, and they're all just kind of supportive of that, even though it doesn't make much sense to us, perhaps. And what this sets up going forward would be so fun to watch. But I love that. Rather than like doing a time jump 10 years ahead where it's like, this is where everybody is, they all went their separate ways, it did the exact opposite, which is set them up for continuing adventures beyond what we get to see on TV. And I love that. It doesn't have to be this is the end of their story. This is just the end of where we are watching their story. So I love how this episode and show ends.
I think I agree too. And I think they did a really clever thing with the Freeman character, sort of, like I said earlier, validating her choice in her crew and believing Mariner and Boimler at the very start, and then ending with, that she handpicked them and that she's proud of them. And it's the passing of the torch in this really important way. And I think that works really well because she is the captain. And so they're not giving the power to this crew. We don't see our Boimler become captain. We see the start of another adventure, which feels way more realistic and in line and than what I think the temptation could be, which is to like promote everybody and they all get their own ship and then they're all just in a fleet together forever, happy. But
way too rushed. Yeah,
we saw the other Boimler doing that, William or whatever his name is.
Yeah, William.
So we kind of get to see a little bit of that, and we got to see the alternate, like bearded Boimler at the very beginning. So we have seen potential permeations of our Boimler, but I think that they ended it really, really well.
Yeah.
I think though with the Freeman giving her trust to them was a really important part of the story, and I'm glad that they did. And I think that it was a really well end. But we do have to sin it. But first, what about Pips?
Yeah, we'll do some Pips first. For me, it's a very generous, perhaps sentimental 4 Pips. I think it's great. I don't know how better they could have stuck the landing other than getting a season 6. That's how good this finale is that I'm desperate for what happens next. So yeah, even with the Klingon stuff not particularly working for me, it does do what it needs to do. So yeah, I'm giving this 4 Pips. As
a season finale, this is a 4 Pip. Yeah. As a show finale, this is a 3.5 Pip.
I agree with that, but I'm deciding not to be a dick.
Because I'm putting that filter on that I'm not supposed to. So I'm going to firmly give it a 4 because I really feel like this was just a very well done episode of TV. It had everything that you want it to have. It had humor, it had heart, it had passion, it had great music, really fun space battle. It just did everything that you want it to do, I think. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Completely agree. This is a well-rounded meal of Star Trek amazingness. I love it. With that, we're of course going to sin it. We'll see you in engineering. 2 to beam out. Battle stations, red alarm. Red alarm. Red alarm. Red alarm. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV shows without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. Ambassador?
Yes.
No sins.
You don't have any sins?
Oh, no, of course I've got sins.
That's so unlike you.
Me, really?
Oh, there's just some storytelling cliches in here that we can easily hit. The whole thing falls apart
ones.
if Relga doesn't explain her evil plan. Like she literally explains her plan to the brothers.
Spells that shit out.
If she had just shot them,
right? Vaporize them.
we really wouldn't be going anywhere in this one. So.
But that leads into my first sin, which is Mach's ship survives this. 3 Klingon birds of prey surrounding this dinky little freighter. I don't know how you're outmaneuvering, out-warping, out-anythinging. After that, like, opening barrage, you're dead. Like, no, not even a sliver of technobabble to explain how this tiny little dinghy evaded these 3 ships. That was wild.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
My next one is Mariner in 2 different moments says, "Right, Mom? Right, Dad?" And I'm just like, ugh. After so long of this not like wanting to separate family from work, we've just firmly gone into it in this one. And it annoyed me because she's like, "Can't we keep these asylum seekers, Mom?" And I just find that to be highly inappropriate.
I'm captain, thank you very much. They're not professional. I would absolutely send the amount of like workarounds and like explicit explanations to allow just 10% of quantum fuckery to happen. It's like, we're going to give you these shield modulations that are going to protect the Ceritos from all of like the Schrodinger stuff that happens in the field. And then they apply the shield stuff and it's like, oh, it's the geranium in the hull plating, which means we'll be mostly protected. And it's all of these ways to, we know that if the Ceritos sails into there unprotected, we can't explain the flukiness of them surviving. But if we 90% protect them, we still get to have some fun, and it's plausible that everyone survives. So yeah, a lot of like technobabble workaround to protect the Ceritos, but also allow the fun ship transformations to happen. Again, I'm all for it, but would sin it.
I'm sorry. I forgot that Freeman's thing was warp me. And
yes, it was.
I was reminded of it in this episode, and I really am annoyed by it today.
Did she just say warp me?
Can we play that part?
Yeah.
I did not know if I heard her correctly.
Yeah.
And I
warp
did.
Me. Yeah. Didn't really need it. Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
On Freeman, she says, whatever we turn, this is as they're going into the Schrodinger field, whatever we turn into is still better than being blown up by Klingons. I mean, unless you get turned into a ship that's been blown up by Klingons, or you get turned into a caterpillar, or you get turned into just something really shit, like a Klingon barge or a sail ship from it. There are lots of options that would be more painful if you're just going to talk about the types of deaths that you could possibly have. So yeah.
Rutherford has time for this cliche when he's like talking to Tendi about how he's falling out of love of the Ceritos.
I thought that as well. Like, you have no time for this. You have no time to break up with the Ceritos right now.
Oof. Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch that in this moment you're going to explain this part of yourself.
I'm going to send Freeman again for when they turn into the Sovereign class. She says, and I'm hurting because she said this, I guess I'll have to take it. What do you mean, I guess I'll have to take a Sovereign class? Don't act like you wouldn't be just over the moon excited to be piloting what is the most advanced ship in the fleet. And it felt like a personal attack, as that is my favorite design of Enterprise. And it felt like a personal attack that she just, oh, I suppose I'll be captain of the coolest fucking ship ever made.
There you go. I'm going to go to the chat. Because there are some really good ones that are being popped up right now.
Do it. No wondering, this is bullshit. I'm not overly attached to anything. You're overly attached.
Hates you, bitch!
Hates you, bitch!
This one from Sci-Fi Brony. Mariner telling us to tune in near the end of the finale of the season.
Wink, wink. Look at the camera. Tune in for more.
Yeah. Do you
Please
think that
get
that's
us
them
renewed.
hinting that we're not done yet? Because during the show today, chat was talking about how on Instagram and on social media, some of the actors have hinted that it's not necessarily the end. Do you think that means Starbase 80 is going to kick off and then they're going to come in for some like some sort of cameos from time to time?
I think if there's one franchise you can say that with, it's Star Trek. Because think about last week. You had actors returning with their voices from Enterprise, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. You have got so much opportunity to turn. So it's very easy to say, I'll be back. This is not the end.
Yeah.
And be vague enough that, yes, we will see Boimler pop up at some point in another animated show, maybe in live action. It will be a reference. Like, it's never the end with Star Trek because it is constantly iterating and reiterating, and there's so much room to pop up again. I don't know that they know anything specific. I mean, like a Lower Decks movie. Can you imagine that? I can kind of see that.
Not knowing anything specific.
Yeah, not knowing anything specific.
We've already done a movie episode. We don't need a real one.
No, that's true. They actually did. They've done 2 of them, I think, but I don't think we've seen the second one. I can't remember. But yeah, I want more. I wish we had more specific. It almost feels cruel to say this might not be the end. I'm like, I already know that because this is Star Trek. It's never the end. Everybody always comes back in some form.
Probably because they signed over their voice for the future.
No, I'm hoping Paramount might do that. I'm hoping Star Trek wouldn't. I know I laughed at like Ta'ana's explanation for why we keep having Klingon birds of prey, but that's missing the point of the Schrodinger thing, because this isn't just like pulling things out from the history of like humanity and the history of Klingons. It's alternate realities. So there must be alternate realities where the Klingons didn't favor birds. Like, that's missing the point of the Schrodinger thing a little bit.
But the way that the ships kept changing indicated that it was within its own timeline somehow.
No, it didn't. Not with the not with the Ceritos.
Really? Because they were all versions of Star Trek or Starfleet shippies.
No, because the Sovereign class was different. That had like it had the wrong nacelles on it. The ISS Ceritos was from a different timeline.
But they're still not turning into like a Borg cube, is what my point.
They're not wild, but then
they're
that would
staying
mean
within their realm.
But that means that there's a reality where Starfleet created a Borg cube. They're staying within their own species, but different. Yeah, no, but that's my point. It could be that wild. It like with infinite universes.
Yeah,
it is kind of wild that it stayed within its own time stream so much at all, and that's exactly what I mean about the bird of prey. It should have been more wild, I would think.
This one is also from the chat. I had this thought as well. Sin Rutherford hearing Mariner, even though they weren't on comms. That kind of happened toward the end when Rutherford saves the day and says, "It's great that it's the Ceritos. I'm going to save the day." So thank you, Link, for sharing that. The comms
are always open. Always.
Even when you
so
take a
inconsistent shit. It's one of my earliest nitpicks that I ever read in a beautiful nitpicking book was the comm badges don't make sense. I just with the whole, we would absolutely sing the shit out of the whole Ceritos being the only ship in range. Isn't that convenient? It's ironic that the Enterprise is the only ship out of range on this occasion to not make it there in time, and the amount of work you have to do to shoehorn the Cali class into this universe-ending problem is a lot. But really, I'm glad they didn't spend too much time explaining it and just let us have the adventure.
Sin from Wandering, having 2 first officers is even stupider than having co-chief science officers.
Yeah, kind of with you on that one. Yeah, it's not a democracy, people. It's a command structure.
All of the arguments that happen, or all of the disagreements that could potentially happen if you have 2 different people that would solve a problem 2 different ways.
Yeah, but you've got Ransom.
Often times not about who's right. It's just picking a path and going on it quickly. So
Yeah, it really can be. And Ransom, like, interpersonal conflict is the best way to learn. Just a little nod to the lack of that in the old school Star Trek. Love it. My last sin was just how quickly Mariner makes that I'm going to permanently open this rift. That is a big call that she makes, shifting gears from deciding to not close it to just punching the LCAR's panel and I'm going to open it for good. She unilaterally, as a junior grade lieutenant, makes that call. And she's just very lucky it worked out.
I mean, it did save them all from dying.
Sure did. But it's either command, you know,
die trying something new that was inspired by farming or not.
Yes. On my farm. And everyone's like, wait, what? If you have a metaphor that applies
on my
right
farm
now.
when it floods.
Like, wait, what?
And you can't stop the water. You build a dam.
Anything else, Ambassador?
Instead of everybody going, oh, damn.
Oh my gosh. That
She's
was
like,
amazing.
oh, a portal forever. I know just the button to push for that.
It's such a great launching point for a new show. I love it. I love this ending so much.
I think that's it from me. There's some more that we'll hit in the after show.
Yeah, we will. Okay, Ambassador, do you want to know what's happening next for Captain's Pod?
Of course I do.
Please, if you said no, that would have been amazing. Well, I know people listening at home probably do. The next episode in your podcast feed, Wednesday, the 1st of January, New Year's Day.
Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. So obviously this is coming out on Christmas Day. Happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Merry solstice. Happy Christmas.
Pod.
Happy solstice. Happy holiday. Or fuck off. Whatever really. The spectrum is wide.
It's very wide, but you do get to listen to an episode of Captain's Pod.
I want to acknowledge it all for you.
On the 25th of December. So yeah, next week, the 1st of January, this is going to be in honor of the 45th anniversary of the motion picture, a deep dive into the motion picture. It'll be myself and this is a collaboration between myself and David from the Lorehounds, who cover all kinds of sci-fi, pop culture stuff, Lord of the Rings, Dune, Marvel.
Things.
All of the lore things. We go and have a deep celebration of the motion picture, and this gets fucking nerdy. This gets so deep, not just into like Star Trek lore, but like how they made the movie, like what it means to Star Trek. Like I sometimes tone myself down a bit so that I can keep the Ambassador on board. This is me filtered. I go completely unfiltered with David because there's nothing to like hold me back. So yeah, that is 2.5 hours of motion picture love fest that you'll get to listen to next week. The following week, the 8th of January, in your podcast feed, you will have a brand new type of episode, which we're calling Captain's Pod Buffer Time. And the general idea is that when Danae and I get together, we talk a lot. And I would say at least 50% of it never gets into the show. It's either like too random, not quite on theme. I try to put like the outtakes as a theme of some sort. Buffer Time is completely unfiltered. All of these conversations, I keep them just in case, and I've edited them together into basically an outtakes episode. It's no holds barred. This is cats. This is schools, social media, dogs, frogs. There is some Star Trek in there as well. There's food, there's stories. What I can guarantee, it's all shit you haven't heard before. It's not a Shades of Grey compilation episode. This is just random shit that hasn't seen the light of day. So enjoy that to keep you going until the 29th of January, when we will return in your podcast feed with Section 31 coverage. So there'll be a 3-week gap in your podcast feed between our Buffer Time episode and our return for Section 31. Whew, did I do it, Ambassador? Did that make sense?
I am on board with you, but you did say the 29th is when we're back.
The 29th is when we will fully return. Yeah, absolutely. That's when you'll hear Danae and I in the current time.
Yeah.
2025, everyone. Okay, and obviously during that episode, we'll announce what the next season of Captain's Pod looks like. But until then, Ambassador, we're done with Lower Decks. Thank you for watching so much Lower Decks with me.
Well, you're welcome. I would not be doing this if it weren't for you toning yourself down. So thank you for castrating yourself, limiting yourself
a little bit, just a
for
little bit.
my benefit. But I also would not be doing this if we weren't getting positive feedback from the fans, because this has been an experiment that we continue to evolve. And so the new evolution of Captain's Pod, for those of you that have been thinking about joining us for a live show, is we're going to be going live on Mondays instead of Fridays. So if you do have a schedule that allows you to join us in the middle part of the day on a Monday, you can catch us on YouTube and Twitch. And of course, we have all of the links in the description that you need to find out more, including our Discord, where we put a lot of that info.
Yeah, it's going to be Mondays at 12 p.m. starting on Wednesday. Mondays starting on Wednesday. That's amazing. Mondays at 12 p.m. starting on Wednesday. Mondays at 12 p.m. starting on Monday the 27th. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. You're the best on Captain Ian, and all hands brace for weird.
I knew you were going to do that one, so I went with what viscosity is the goo, and does it have anything nice to say?
It's perfect. Live long and Podspur.
I loved that part of Tendi. It was such a nice little combo. Like, well, what viscosity is it? And then she's like, and does it have anything nice to say? And I was like,
just
oh my God.
The perfect combo. Science besties. So great.
Science besties.
So great. Whew, what an episode, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us jump right into that, because we needed to get into that.
We did.
That was
deep.
That was a needed one.
That was a lot. Danae, Vamp, I have got to empty my bladder. Have you seen how big this is my fist? This is how big this mug is.
Okay, so I've drank this, which is bigger than my fist, and I have drank the half of the lower part of this. So
all of this.
You go, then I go.
This is so much.
I will vamp for just a little while. I'll go over some things that maybe I can do. This one was fun from Phil. What would your transporter clones name themselves? I think I would be Rebecca. I don't know why. It's just the first thing that popped into my mind. I feel like if I had an immediate duplicate of myself, I would be attempting to do something different. And Rebecca seems like a safe name that isn't someone going, what is that again? And I often get, so is it Renee or Danae? Do you see how like I removed him and just take him off of there? Yeah. This is good. Ooh. That's too much Danae. But I don't know how to fix it right yet. So I'll just keep going for a minute. I don't know what Ian's would be. Tell me in the chat what you think Ian's would be. So since my name is like more like, what was that? And I'm going to go with Rebecca. His might be something like Constantine. I don't know what is wrong. Why? I don't know. Oh, got the bladder issues too, Fly? Yeah. His would be, you're not wrong. It's just a different alliteration of it. Just like Alistair. Yeah. Ain. He did say Ethan. Did we do this last week? Why are there comments still from last week? Thank you. Why do you still have comments from last week?
It's just what StreamYard does weirdly, because we're using the same.
You don't clean them up.
No, we repeatedly use the same studio. But the comments disappear, and then they only reappear when we go live again. So I would have to remember after I click the go live button, but I don't.
Okay, Loader, we got to talk about this. If you're still here,
what's the thing that you did? What did you do?
So if you're still here, we need to know what this is, and then I'm going to go to this one: Proto Klingon versus Moopsie.
Moopsie. Proto Klingons have bones on the outside of their body as well. They're getting so hurt.
We didn't talk about the Proto Klingons at all. I guess you didn't think they're that cool.
The Proto-Klingons, we've seen them in Genesis. It was a
Some people have who have watched Genesis. Some people have not.
You have watched Genesis.
No, I've never seen Genesis. I don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah, it was a nod to the Genesis Klingon. That Worf de-evolves into a big, beefy Klingon that chases Picard through the ship and is in like the turbolift ducts and acids, Deanna.
I forgot that was Worf.
Yeah, that was Worf. De-evolved.
That was cool. I loved seeing the Proto-Klingons, by the way.
Yeah, no, I did too.
Just like seeing them all turn into these massive like danger noodles and then just attacking each other. They're not danger noodles. They were danger
beams.
What do they look like?
Lightnings?
Some kind of a lizard. There's like a particular kind of a lizard that I'm trying to think of the name of, and I'm not going to think of it.
Leopard gecko.
I made a suggestion list for next season. Is that what you did?
Yeah, I made a new season suggestion list based on Garrick, since you liked him so much, Danae. This is the Cardassian from last week. Yeah,
I did enjoy Garrick.
A Garrick season
Send
would be
that
great.
to us.
Do it.
Thank you for doing that.
We've got it here. The Wire, Civil Defense, Improbable Cause, The Dice Cast, Armand Bashir. The Dice Cast and Armand Bashir in particular are incredible, and I think we would finish that with the one where Cisco does his thing. What's it called? In the Pale Moonlight. Yeah, it's great series of episodes.
Well, can you email those to us so that because we'll lose them here on the stream.
Yes, we
captainspod@cinemasins.com.
Yeah, or they'll reappear next time we go live.
If you don't clear it.
Yes.
I finally watched Star Trek for the Prodigies, and I can report that the Year of Hell vibes are strong with this one. What does that mean?
Year of Hell was a two-parter in Voyager, and I think I'd need more clarification to get that.
If you're still here, feel free to clarify.
I do enjoy Prodigy, though.
Thank you for your comment, though. Sin. The Saladin was a canon single nacelle ship in ST2 and 3. Boymes would have known.
Oh, good to know. I did not remember that, to be honest.
I'm kind of reading through some older comments.
Mm-hmm. Armand Bashir is such a fun episode. It's so dumb.
To me, the Packled's just randomly showing up and cruising by everyone to try and stream the rift power, but getting sucked in and turned into a little dumpster fire would have been a cool scene.
That would have been so funny.
Thanks, Polly.
That's amazing.
Sci-Fi says the energy waves are reminiscent to the shockwave from when Praxis exploded.
Oh, yeah, it is actually. Yeah, I like that.
Here's a question from Link. What if you add a bunch of nacelles to a ship? Will it go to warp faster?
Well, following like Gene's original design vision, anything more than 3 would be superfluous because they're creating the warp bubble which bends space and allows the ship to move faster than light because it's moving space around the ship, not the other way around. So I don't think a third nacelle, it might be for like redundancy. It wouldn't be for speed. So it'd be like if one nacelle fails, you've got a third nacelle there as a backup, would be my guess.
You can never have too many nacelles, is my opinion now.
You
just
absolutely can. Look at the fucking Stargazer. It's got 4 nacelles on it. It's way too many nacelles. It needs to have
more.
Okay.
That gives you more things to blow up in every episode.
That's fair. That's true.
Ian has a Sovereign class tramp stamp. I think
How
a tramp
do you
stamp
not know this, Slab?
Is on the lower back though. This is not where his is.
This gives me a chance to show off this as well, my Trek the Horse t-shirt. But yeah, it's not above my bottom.
My bottom.
I thought you'd have seen this in person, Slab, actually, at one of the Sin Weeks. Here is my... Hang on, let's get this side of the cat. Damn it, I've moved it in the way more. There we go.
There you go. There it is.
Sovereign class tattoo.
We should make some
so
way
much.
for the chat to redeem all of their like Twitch points to make you like lotion it.
Wait, I thought we were going somewhere else with that, like get another tattoo. But
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a smart idea. What would your catchphrase be?
me, give me a sovereign class. I'd have to think about it. I'd have to think about
No.
what
Your
my-
catchphrase for when you go to warp.
Yeah, give me a sovereign class. I think it would be.
I would really be annoyed to hear that every day.
Give me a sovereign class. It would
It's too
be.
Mine would just be let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Like physics time, bitch. Every time.
Lloydie says their catchphrase would be, well, let's go then.
Yeah. Warp it.
Lloydie also has a sin-off. The pad gave Boimler the confidence, but he always had the skill.
Yes. Good point.
Yeah.
I like that.
Here's one sin from Sci-Fi Brony. Why would the bed still be on fire? Shouldn't the Ceritos have fire suppression systems like other Federation starships?
Oh, you've answered the sin inside the sin. It's the Ceritos. It doesn't get the fire suppression systems.
Lots of them did engage. I mean, that's an easy one, yeah.
Yeah, Janeway didn't have her own one. It was just engage.
My warp phrase might just be do it. I would like the ship to go now.
Well, that is Spock's. That's Ethan Peck's phrase from Strange New Worlds. I would like the ship to go.
Oh, now.
It works.
It
I love
needs
it.
to be something that is just different enough that the crew knows you're serious, so it's not an accidental
Yes.
warp situation.
Well, that's the thing with Picard is that he had engage, but he used engage for a lot of things. It wasn't just warp.
Janeway's was there is coffee in that nebula.
She actually did say that. Yeah.
She did not.
No, she does. They're really, really low on rations, and they find a nebula that's like rich in deuterium, I think. And she literally just says there's coffee in that nebula because it's going to power the replicators.
Oh, Jesus.
Channeling some Danae energy there.
Yeah.
They're like, this nebula is really dangerous. Yes, but there is coffee in it.
Just coffee. Let's go. Sarah said mine would be vroom vroom, bitches.
Amazing.
Love that. Let's see. Oh, is the outtakes episode going to be a bit like Morning DNA, but with Ian?
Very much, with a little bit more
Interesting.
Star Trek. Yeah.
Okay.
What's great is that Danae
I have
isn't.
no idea.
Danae has no
I
idea
have no idea what's
what
happening.
is in there and what hasn't been talked about. So
No.
yeah, this one may go through her for approval first.
It's possible that that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just in case I'm like, no, I just said that to you. Mine would be,
Yeah.
let's go.
Let's go
Like, how long though does it need to be, Lodair?
until you drop out of warp.
Floor it would be Lynx,
Yeah.
which is such a funny thing because floor it is based on having a gas pedal and putting the gas
Yes.
pedal to the floor. So
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, it's kind of fun. Oh, rocket like engage the core is also a good one.
Yeah, that's true.
So many good
Mix
options.
Mine would be mix it.
Why?
Because the way the warp engine works, the warp core, is that it mixes in a controlled reaction antimatter and matter. So you've got to get the ratio and the mix just right to jump to warp.
Then mine would be make it matter.
Oh, that would be great! Damn it! We just came up with two better warp slogans than any show has in a while.
Like, we're going to go to this place. Let's make it matter.
Yeah. Make it matter. Oh, I love that. You can apply that to even if it's like, we're going to re-buffer the phases to destroy that asteroid. Make it matter. I love it. Nice.
Nice.
Nice. Mix it and make it matter.
Wandering said, Sin, I don't like how Rutherford is now all blushy about Tendi. It feels to really cut against the episode from a year or two ago, which firmly established the platonicness of their relationship.
It was a little bit.
That was
a little bit jarring.
It potentially, but if you're not having a regulator of your emotions, then he's truly Rutherford for the first time. Yeah. And what a sad thing that we never get to see what that person is. Oh my gosh.
I love that she's like trying to like fix him and like brings him close and like his head is on her boobs and he freaks out. He's like, oh!
Yeah.
Just runs away.
It'd be a bit like coming off of drugs for a long time.
Yeah.
You know,
going onto them for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I completely believe he'd be blushy and feeling kind of weird about it.
I'd be blushy and feeling kind of weird about being in Tendi's chest.
Really, anyone.
Yeah, it's fair.
If you've been suppressed for so long.
Yeah.
Or regulated or whatever. If the field can affect the whole, wouldn't that mean that straight up the shields don't work?
I don't like that as a catchphrase. I think that's way too many words.
Such a butt. Annihilate it because matter plus antimatter equals annihilation.
It really does. That's
that
probably the biggest very sin of Star
Borg.
Trek.
Doesn't it sound very Borg?
Annihilation. Yeah.
Oh man, nix it. Intermix it. You guys are fun. I love that. I love Tillin's. Apparently, I was mistaken regarding her speculation that Tendi and Rutherford were romantic.
Because he just klutzes his way out of it. Like, oh, clearly I was wrong.
He kind of just like falls off of the table, essentially. Let me get that banner off there. Oh man. Well, we hope you guys have some awesome plans for the holidays and that includes taking care of yourself. For me during this season, there are all kinds of things that I feel like are expected of me and I'm getting to decide what I do and do not want to do this year, which is really nice. So I hope you're in a position of having some control over your time and making sure that you take care of yourself because it can be obligated. A tricky part of the year.
Do not feel obligated to anyone but yourself.
Gotten through Thanksgiving for a lot of people who live in the U.S. and then we're going into the holiday season. Lots of pressure. You'll see it in the outtakes. I talked about it before the start of the show.
I'm cutting it.
Yes, Ian wants to cut it. He may be bleeping it because it triggered him a bit. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to talk about it. Let's not talk about it.
Let's not.
Stop it. So please take care of yourselves. We will be back for a live show on Monday, the 27th, I think.
Starting Wednesday, yeah. Monday the 27th, full section.
I really do appreciate 31. You, but you do tend to make things so complicated sometimes.
Why?
Well, at this time, at this place, but not over here. It's over there. And it's just before this, but then after that, and only in this certain time zone.
I did great this time. I did great. I just did the dates for the podcast feed.
Yeah, we don't have any plans of going live between today and the 27th of January. Now, if that changes, you'll find out because you either follow us and get notifications on Twitch or on YouTube. But right now, there are no plans to go live.
Yeah.
We're taking a bit of a break, and that sucks, but that's okay.
Life happens.
Dark Helmet, we meet again for the first time for the last time. Is that Spaceballs?
I think it's Spaceballs. Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen
Dark
that movie.
Helmet is from Spaceballs, right? I can kind of hear it in my memory, sort of. Thank you for it. Thank you. Yes, it'll be good.
Video.
Okay. I think that's it for now, and I'm sad for that, but it's Saturday, and I have to go finish some Christmas shopping, and I have Christmas presents to wrap, and I have people coming over to my house tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after. So I gotta go be
people.
I gotta go make some personal sacrifices to be able to be there for other people, but it's also for myself. I'm looking forward to spending time with my friends and my family. Happy holidays to you all. Live long in Podspur. We love you and appreciate you guys so much. We will see you back live on Monday, January 27th. Be old and rich.
Heck yeah. You've still got 3 weeks worth of episodes in your podcast feed to enjoy.
And it'll the feed will only be dark, I think, for 2 weeks between
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
All
3 weeks of darkness, and then we'll be back.
See you guys on Discord.
Man, I hope I got the outro screen right.
Do you?
Yeah, we'll find out.
Are you sure?
Yeah. What's worse that can happen?
You put up misinformation.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
And
Yesterday?
is it correct?
It's right. It's correct.
Okay.